Hello everyone, welcome to the first class of Audit and Assurance. First of all, I would like to congratulate you to come to the skill level because I'm sure you have really worked hard to come out here and do the skill paper, right? So I would be teaching you a very interesting topic, which is Audit and Assurance, which comes in your skill level. Before we actually start the content, let me quickly show you how to go to the MEPL Classes website and book yourself a paper. So let's go there. Whenever you log into your Safari or your Google Chrome or whatever, on your search engine, you need to type www.meplclasses.com. Okay. Once you come on the main page, you need to click on courses, select international courses, and then here in categories, you have to select ACCA. Right? So if you see here, all the options of ACCA, right from the knowledge level to the professional level, everything is available here, right? I am personally taking 4 papers of ACCA, skill level 2 papers and professional level 2 papers. So you will have a varied amount of very educated, knowledgeable and experienced tutors who will be guiding you to finish your ACCA journey. You can book your papers right from their website, right? And here are the options. With books, without books, recorded classes, everything is available with MEPL, right? So what are you guys waiting for? Come on, let's get started. Like, subscribe, and please share the information and spread the news that ACCA is available with MEPL classes. Let's go and start our content of Audit and Assurance. Hello and welcome to the first class of Audit and Assurance. This subject that we are going to do is also called as the 8th paper of Fundamental, which is F8. And it is one of the skill level paper. Also, this is one of my favorite papers because I completely love the subject auditing. And it is completely theory, but we'll try to make it as fresh as possible and as interesting as possible. But before we actually start, going on to the subject, there are certain things that I would like to share with you, certain things that I want you to be very clear about, okay, when it comes to auditing. Now, ACCA is something that I have been teaching from 2000. So it's almost been a decade now that I am teaching ACCA. And there are a lot of things that need to be understood before we actually start the audit paper. The first thing about this paper is most of the times when students come out of the paper, okay, when they give the paper in the ACCA exams and they come out, they think that the paper was very good, very easy, and it went very well. But with auditing, it's not like any other subject. Auditing needs 2 things, which is very compulsory. One is the audit language, and second is the body of the answer. Okay. I just told you that this is a theory paper, right? So it's not that it is theory and it is going to be boring. But the thing here is it is theory and it needs to be understood and explained properly. Right. So when we talk about a theory paper, we need to understand that whatever we talk right now, like, I'm communicating with you, that is not something that you can actually write in the answer sheet. Okay. So when you see when you see my teaching method for auditing, you will realize that I give students on the spot pause of like 5 minutes, 7 minutes to read the page that I'm showing on the screen. And there are 2 reasons to do that. One, students get a time to absorb the theory that I have just explained them. And second, they sometimes don't end up reading and they only listen to the recordings. Okay. Auditing में we cannot take that risk. उसका language, auditing का language में answers लिखना is very essential. Then only you score the marks. Okay. Otherwise, you think that you have written the answers correctly by using layman language or, by communicating as a very simple person. But unfortunately, that does not happen. Okay, as time will come, as we go through the chapters and I'm going through the papers, I will explain you what is very important. But always keep in mind that for auditing particularly, or any theory subject that I'm going to take classes for, there will be pauses in it, so you can absorb what I have said. And second, you can read the space or the thing that I'm telling you to read on the spot. Okay. So let's get started with the books. For auditing, we will be using Kaplan books. Okay. So this is the study text. Let's understand the study text first, and then let's go to the other book, which is the exam kit. So this is a Kaplan Publishing's latest auditing and assurance book of the applied skill level. These are the chapters that we are going to study. So if you see, chapter 1 to chapter 12 is something that is going to be a part of what comes in the exams as terms of questions. Okay. And employability and technological skills is basically focusing on when you have the exams, when you are giving the exam, how to use Excel or how to use Word and how to give the attempt, which we will be overcoming when we are going to do the mock papers. So before we start the mocks, I'm going to take a session on how to use the computer-based exam platform or CBE platform. Okay. So in that particular, what do you call it? In that particular class, I will be handling the cost, sorry, not the cost, but the CBE, which is computer-based exam skills or technological skills. Okay. ISAs is International Standards of Auditing, which will be coming here. So this is just a key revision of ISAs, which ideally you should be knowing. But for AA, I'm telling you myself that if you don't know all the ISAs, it is okay. But if in the professional paper, you end up selecting, optional paper as advanced audit and assurance, you should know all the ISAs. So it is better to start preparing from now. Okay. Financial reporting revision is basically where we are going to, connect the auditing with the FR portion. And it is a little revision that we will be going through, right? And then there is a Q&A, which is questions and answers, which we will be doing in the class. Okay. So this is how we are going to use the time when we are together for audit and assurance. Before I actually go to teaching part and other things, I have to tell you that for auditing or for any subject that I'm teaching, you have to do some things simultaneously. Okay. So for example, like the audit class, okay, it is every alternate days. That means you have almost 48 hours before we next meet. And if it is a weekend, it's a longer time before we next meet, right? So how will you utilize this time period? Whenever you are seeing my video, okay, you need to see the video. You need to go through that chapter. For example, if today we are doing chapter number 1, okay, so you need to go through that chapter. You need to see the video, and simultaneously there are questions in the exam kit, which I'll be showing you shortly. That exam kit questions is something that you will be doing together. Okay. So every time, whenever you are seeing one video of mine, say, 40 minutes or 1 hour or 1.5 hour, 2 hour, whatever, however big the video is or the portion is, you have to promise me that you are doing these things together. See my video, do the chapter, and do the exam kit questions. Okay. These three things have to come together. That is the best way to pass the audit paper, right? Don't make a mistake of seeing all the videos, then going to the study text, then doing the exam kit. It is complete waste of time. Okay. Trust me, guys. I've passed my ACCA papers. I'm a fellow member with ACCA, 10 years of teaching ACCA, and this is the best tip that I can give you. चैप्टर वाइज एग्जाम किट में दिए गए हैं, साथ में करिए. It will be very, very beneficial, because once my whole portion is finished up to the, the Q&As and this complete book, Then I will be moving on to the next thing, and which is solving the mock papers. Okay, so that will also be a combined thing, right? The idea of study text is to assure that you are going to be well versed with the information given. It is concept clearing only. The main information, the main actual exam papers will be done when we are doing mock. But how can you be good at mocks? Only if you know the concepts and you have practiced similar questions from the exam kit. Okay, so please do things simultaneously. It is very, very, very beneficial. I will surely show you exam kit in few minutes. पहले थोड़ा सा ये बुक को complete कर लेते हैं. At an average, हर चैप्टर को just about say 2 classes लगेंगे. Like smaller chapters को 1 class लगता है and bigger chapters को 2 classes it will take. Okay, 2 to 3 classes. In every chapter, I would try to give you the importance of them so you know how much weightage is required for each chapter. This is the syllabus according to ACCA, guys. You can just go through it once. Now, exam में questions कैसे पूछे जाते हैं, right? So basically, this is going to be 100 marks paper for 3 hours. So in 3 hours time, you have to write for 100 marks and the pass mark is 50%. That means 50 marks is passing. And the third important thing is there is no negative marking. तो मुझे नहीं चाहिए कि आप एक भी क्वेश्चन छोड़े. Okay, you are not supposed to leave any question blank. Everything has to be answered compulsorily, even in your mocks and in your examination. Okay, I'm repeating it. There are no negative markings, and I will not accept any of my students who are not going to write the paper. Everybody will attempt every paper and every question. Okay, now these 100 marks are basically segregated into 2 sections, section A and section B. Section A has got 3 case-based questions. So basically there will be a case study, and on that case study, there's a case study, and on that case study there are going to be 10 questions. Okay, sorry, just a minute. Thank you so much. So as I was saying, there are going to be 3 case study based questions. So I will just explain you how it is. There will be a case study, okay? And on basis of that case study, you will be having 5 to 2 marks ka questions. That means one case study is going to be worth 10 marks. And those kind of 3 case studies you will have in the examination, okay? In section B, you are going to have 130 marks question and 2 20 marks question. Okay, so this is how your complete examination format is going to be. Apart from the 3 hours that are given to answer your questions, there are also going to be 10 minutes to read the instructions. But that 10 minutes are not used to answer the questions. The challenge for an audit paper is it should finish on time. Okay, because you have 70 marks worth of typing. And when there is a lot of typing, what happens? If you don't have a good practice on typing, you end up not clearing the paper or you don't end up finishing the paper, right? So our first challenge is to do good time management, okay? I think now it's very clear, section A and section B. Section A, 3 case study, 10 marks questions, 10 marks case study each, and section B is going to be 30 marks, 20 marks and 20 marks. Everything is typed for section B. Section A, it is a MCQ. Okay, superb. Then we start the chapter 1. But before we start chapter 1, let me quickly show you how the exam kit looks. Right, this is the exam kit. Let me just go to the first page. This is how your audit and assurance applied skills exam kit looks. It is also from Kaplan Publishing only. Now, the idea of using both the books, the exam kit and the study text from the same publishing house, is to get a proper understanding of how things are shaped up. Okay. So, for example, the first chapter was, introduction to assurance. Okay. Now, introduction to assurance, there is, basically there are no questions that are asked in the exam in the past papers. Okay. But as we go ahead and do other chapters, for example, corporate governance hai, so that students have been asked in the previous papers, right? Also, the same mark system is given here. A little bit of assurance would be asked in other questions. Like if you see here, audit framework and regulation is included in chapter 1, 2, 3, and 4. And questions that are related to these 4 chapters are objective test questions 1 to 50, Orange Financials, Enterprise, Saxophone, Frisia, Hurling, Heart, and Peach. So these are some questions that were asked based on these 4 chapters. So sometimes a standalone chapter would not be examined in the exam. Okay. So that's why an aggregate topic will be examined in the exam. And these are some chapters which have been examined with these questions which are in the exam kit. Right? This is how the chapters start. Correct? So I think now I am very clear with what I want from you as my students. What are the keys to pass your ACCA audit and assurance paper? And I have also shown you where to study from. Okay. Apart from this, I want to do mock papers with you. Okay. So really hope that you follow my tips and you pass only in your first attempt with flying beautiful colors. Okay. Chalo, let's get started with the actual work. Right. Our first chapter that we are going to do today is called Introduction to Assurance. Now, we need to understand what is assurance, okay? What happens whenever you are sick or, when you're not feeling well? Who do you go to? Do you go to an architect, an engineer? Who do you go to? When you are sick, for example, you've got fever, who do you go to? Any answers? Yeah. So what happens? When I'm sick, who do I go to? I go to a doctor, right? Why do I go to a doctor? I can go to any other profession. I can go to a lawyer. I can go to an architect. Does that happen in real life? No, right? You know there are many professions and there are many professionals. अगर कोई लीगल केस है तो आप लॉयर के पास जाओगे, अगर आप फिजिकली सिक हो तो आप डॉक्टर के पास जाओगे, अगर आपको घर बनाना है आप आर्किटेक्ट के पास जाओगे, राइट? अगर आपको अकाउंट्स करने हैं तो आप चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट के पास जाओगे, राइट? That means a right professional person is the one who is going to give you the right solution to your problem, right? You can't go to a random professional to do your random things, right? So because the person who you go to, you know he is well experienced and you know that that person is going to give you assurance, right? If I go to a doctor, for example, I'm going to a doctor and I tell the doctor, doctor, I've got very much fever. I've got a fever. The doctor will check me, he'll say blah, blah, blah. He'll ask me certain things. I'm like, oh, okay, fine. Maybe you got viral fever. Okay. And he gives me medicine for viral fever. I go home, 50% mentally, my fever is gone because I went to the doctor and I know whatever suggestion he's going to give me is going to be the right suggestion, right? So here what happens when I'm getting an assurance from the right person about the right thing, and I trust that person, I think that he's going to give me the right suggestions, right? What happens? I get the correct assurance. Similarly, when we talk about auditing, right? For example, I'm a shareholder, okay? And I have invested 1 lakh rupees in a company. For example, say Tata's and Sons, because it is my favorite company. I really like Tata's and Sons. Okay, so for example, if I've done that, what happens? I want to check how they are doing. Okay, money I have invested. I want to see if they are investing my money properly or not, using my money properly or not, right? So what do? I hire a practitioner. That practitioner is called an auditor. What I'll tell him? I'll tell, brother, I know you are a very experienced and learned person, educated person. Please go to Tata's and Sons and check if the financial statements that they are making are true and fair or not, right? That means what am I doing here? I am having an assurance engagement. Who am I? Shareholder, right? I am going to appoint a external auditor. External auditors are also called as statutory auditors. I'm going to appoint them and they are going to check the company's health on my behalf and give the report, right? That is the basic idea of assurance. Now, let's go to the definition. An assurance engagement is in which a practitioner obtains sufficient appropriate evidence in order to express a conclusion designed to enhance the degree of confidence of the intended users other than the responsible party about the outcome of the evaluation or measurement of a subject matter against criteria, right? In exam, you don't have to by heart the definitions, okay? But you can take keywords from this and use it in your examination. Giving assurance means offering an opinion about specific information so the user of that information are able to make confident decisions knowing that the risk of the information being incorrect is reduced, right? When somebody tells you, like my doctor, if my doctor told me that I've got viral, what happens? My confidence in him is reduced. My confidence in him is increased. I've got high confidence because, the doctor is like pretty seasoned doctor. And whatever he will tell me will reduce the risk. Because fever can be a risk for various things, right? It can be a risk for numerous things. Sorry, just give me 1 minute. Apologies, guys. I had an important call. I could not just avoid it. So, yeah. So, as I was saying, when I go to a doctor, 2 things happen. My confidence is increased and my risk is reduced, right? When you have fever, you might have 100 things that go in your mouth. Why am I having fever? Typhoid, malaria, COVID, many things, right? But when I go to a person and he tells me, okay, it's not something very major, it's a small thing. What happens? My confidence automatically increases. Similarly, when as a shareholder I'm investing in a company and I'm hiring someone to go there and check the company for me, and when that person tells me, oh, don't worry, Janki, the company is doing well, right? What happens? My confidence increases. And the risk, the tension that I have, oh, company is doing well or not, my 1 lakh rupees are going to give me good dividend or not, that risk is decreased, right? So this is what an assurance engagement does. It increases your confidence, it decreases your risk. There are 5 elements of assurance engagement. There are 3-party involvements: practitioner, that is the reviewer of the subject matter who provides the assurance. That means the auditor. Intended user is any person who wants to know how the auditing has been taken care of. And mostly these are people who have economic decisions to make. It can be people who have already invested in the company, or it can be people who want to invest in that company. Responsible party. Responsible party is the party who makes the subject matter, like the CFO, the BOD. These are the people who are making the subject matter, right? So these are 3 parties that are involved. Appropriate subject matter, right? Now, auditing or assurance engagement can be of many types, right? It can be where the company is hired, external body or a practitioner is hired to check the actual complete health of the company. So that is called a external audit. It can be for a particular part, like, just do GST audit, Forex audit, etc., etc. So that is like a subject matter that has to be mentioned. Suitable criteria. A criteria against which the subject matter is evaluated, like standards, laws, and regulations. Like in our 3rd chapter, corporate governance, we will understand that how many laws and regulations were required. So that is what will come here. Sufficient appropriate evidence. Everything that the practitioner brings you will come with an evidence, right? They can't just go walk into Tata's and Sons, just make a report and bring it to you. That is not how it works. How does it work? It works when they give you any information, when they make the audit report with a proper opinion, with a correct opinion, correct evidence. Okay? Because evidence nahi hai, to kis basis pe aapne report banaya, right? As a practitioner, you can be challenged. So evidence has to be there. And a written assurance report. You can't email, you can't call the shareholders, oh, everything is okay, don't worry, the company is fine. No, that does not happen. A written assurance report, a proper written assurance report will be given. The last chapter that we are going to do in terms of the portion, that is called reporting, and that is where we are going to clearly look at the different types of reports. Elements in relation to an audit, in relation to a forecast. 3-party involvement. Yes, the practitioner is an auditor, and here it's an assurance provider. Intended users, shareholders, and in terms of a forecast, it is directors or provider of finances. Responsible party every time is a director. Appropriate subject matter is financial statement, and in terms of forecast, it is forecast. Suitable criteria, financial reporting framework, and here appropriate assumptions and financial reporting framework. Sufficient appropriate evidence obtained by performing audit procedures such as test of control, test of details, analytical procedures. These words sound little alien to you, right? Ye sare hi words, all these words we are going to do in the upcoming chapters, and individually they are being taken care of. So don't worry. In relation to forecast obtained by performing examination procedures such as an inspection of documents, inquiries, and analytical procedures. Written assurance report in an appropriate form. Independent auditors provide a report providing an opinion as to whether the financial statement give a true and fair view. Right? In relation to forecast, independent assurance report providing a conclusion on whether anything has come to the practitioner's attention to suggest the assumptions are not reasonably based for the forecast. Right? So mostly, whenever there is a forecast report that happens, it is mostly for the things that company wants to make a decision for. I'll give you a little example for this. For example, a company wants to take a loan, okay, from any bank. The bank will say, show us how well you are, how sorted you are to pay us the interest. And under that condition, what happens? That is called a forecast report, because it is made by the company for giving it to the third party. It can be the financial, institute or anything, right? So basically, this is the difference between what an audit is and what a forecast is. Guys, take 5 minutes now and just go through this chapter. Whatever I have taught you up till now, it will help you in long run. मेरे साथ साथ अगर आप पढ़ते भी जाओगे ना, it is a beautiful combination, especially for theory papers, audit and AAA. Okay, so just take 5 minutes and go through this. So I hope you have gone through the first chapter, like the first page of the first chapter. Okay. And honestly, अगर मेरे साथ साथ ही करोगे तो it's going to be very very beneficial. Language improve हो जाएगा, आपको वो compulsory वो पढ़ने का वो एक option मिल जाएगा, right? See, okay, this is also an example, which normally what I give kind of examples only. Here, this is important. You should know the difference between two types of assurance engagement. So basically, there are two types of engagements which are permitted. One is called the reasonable assurance engagement. Other is called the limited assurance engagement. Now, when we talk about the reasonable assurance engagement, it is basically one that gets us enough information to draw to a reasonable conclusion. Okay. So when we talk about the scope of work, reasonable assurance has got a big scope of work, okay, massive scope of work. Limited assurance has got a limited scope of work, small scope of work. When there is massive scope of work, obviously there is going to be enough appropriate evidence, more appropriate evidence that is required. That means there will be more procedures, there will be more test of controls, more substantive procedures, okay. Everything will be on a higher scale. It concludes subject matters which confirms all material respects, because after all, you are auditing or you are giving assurance on the complete company, not a single part of it. It is a positively worded assurance opinion with a high level of assurance. And there's a little example that they've given of how the wordings look. Let's look into it. In our opinion, the financial statements give a true and fair view of the financial position of Murray Company as at December 31st, 2014, and its financial performance and its cash flow for the year then ended in accordance with IFRS, International Financial Reporting Standards, IFRS. So this is just, isko by heart nahi karna hai. You don't have to remember it or by heart it. It's just an example of how the opinion looks. When it comes to limited assurance, it is in a particular direction, so it has to be limited. It is performed with few procedures, inquiries, and analytical procedures. It is plausible in terms of circumstances. Negatively worded assurance gives a moderate or lower level of assurance, and example of that is nothing has come to our attention. Right now, how it is asked, I'll tell you. See, for example, if I'm doing a limited assurance, a company will come to me, a client will come to me, and they'll say, "Okay, Janki, do you do the limited assurance? So can you do a limited assurance report for us, because we want to apply for forex trading, for example, forex trading, right? That means there is only a limited scope. I only have to do forex trading here, right? Checking for the forex trade. What I do is I will go to their premises, I will check the informations, and I will say nothing has come to our attention. अगर कुछ भी गलत नहीं है, if there is nothing wrong, I'll just say nothing has come to our attention that is going to be wrong. Okay, so nothing has come looks like a negatively worded conclusion. It is not something which is bad, it's just something which is negatively worded. That's it. The confidence inspired by a reasonable assurance report is designed to be greater than that inspired by a limited assurance report. Therefore, there are more regulations and standards governing a reasonable assurance assignment. Procedures carried out in a reasonable assurance assignment will be more thorough. Evidence gathered will need to be of a higher quality. Okay, that's about this. And just quickly go through this. I'll give you 3 minutes to go through this, okay? Because it's like little write-up only. right? I think you guys have read that through. Let's go to the next one. External audit engagement, right? Now, so whatever chapters that we are going to do, like in terms of risk and procedures and etc., which will be coming forward, we have to consider one thing, that most of them are focusing on external audit. Okay, basically, mota mota dekhe to there are two types of audits: external audit and internal audit. Okay, external audit is the audit which is done by the statute. That means it is compulsory by the government, where companies are mostly PLC, public limited companies, or the companies have got a certain amount of turnover, which is a turnover which is different in different countries. Those kind of companies with a higher turnover, or which are public limited company, they are compulsory to do the external audit. Internal audit is something which we are going to learn later in the upcoming chapters. Okay. So there are many reasons for an external audit. So external audit basically is where, as I said, there is this third party who comes to a company and looks in the books of accounts, who is hired by the shareholders, right? So external audit is an example of a reasonable assurance, where the degree of confidence is increased in the intended users of the financial statements. Okay, and how it is increased? When the external auditor is making a report and gives a true and fair opinion, and he also assures that all the information, all the evidence, all the incidences that are written in the external audit report are all in terms of material respects in accordance with an applicable financial reporting framework. Okay. The financial reporting framework is to be applied will vary from country to country, and that's why I did not give you a particular amount of turnover. Okay, that is not required. Now, what is the objective of an external auditor? So the external auditor needs to obtain sufficient assurance, because he needs to assure that whatever financial statements he's checking are fraud and error free. There is no fraud or error into that. Second, the external auditor prepares the opinion based on the financial report and the evidences he gets from the company. And third, the report on the financial statements and communication that he does is in accordance with ISA. Right? External auditors also have to follow certain rules and regulations, and they follow ISA, which is International Standards of Auditing. These are a set of rules that the external auditors have to follow to assure that they're going in line with the auditing. Why do you need external auditors? First thing, as I said, companies who are public limited companies, for them it is compulsory by law. Companies who have a certain amount of turnover, for them also it is compulsory by law. So these are the requirements. Okay. Why else do we need external auditors? One, the shareholders provide the finance for a company, and it is their right to know that company is using their funds correctly and not filling up just their pockets. Second, directors also should know and should always have that thing that somebody is monitoring them. Somebody is going to come and check the financial statement. So directors will also assure that they are doing things correctly and they are not manipulating, right? Directors should assure that they are not being lethargic, they are not overlooking on the financial positions, they are not making statements which are late. अगर मतलब financial statement अगर 31st December को अगर प्रोड्यूस करनी है, तो अगर ऑडिटर चेक वगैरह नहीं कर रहा है तो डायरेक्टर्स इतना ध्यान नहीं देंगे, राइट? लेकिन अगर उनको पता है कि हाँ कोई आएगा, एक्सटर्नल बॉडी आएगा और हमारे बुक्स ऑफ अकाउंट्स चेक करेगा, सो दे विल मेक श्योर कि थिंग्स आर परफेक्ट एट द टाइम दैट इज गिवन. Directors also sometimes would manipulate the financial statements to get their own small incentives, which can be eliminated when the external auditors have come there, right? And obviously, external auditor gives an independent review. He is because the third party, right? He does not work for the company. He is the third party. So he comes and he checks if the financial statements are true and fair, right? So that is also where the directors should assure that yes, there is going to be someone who is going to come and check the books of accounts and give a report on that. Right? So these are the needs for external audit. What are the benefits of an audit? Higher quality information, which is more reliable, independent scrutiny and verification, reducing the risk of management bias and fraud and error by acting as a deterrent, enhance the credibility of the financial statement. Deficiencies in the internal control system may be highlighted by the auditor. right? So these are something which will be benefiting the auditors, or which are the benefits of having an audit. Okay. Now let's take 2 minutes and quickly go through this small page. Right, folks? I hope you've gone through this. Let's go to the next one. Expectation gap. Okay, now first let me tell you, expectation gap is something which can be asked in the exam. It's one of the examiner's favorites. And sometimes, for 2 marks, this can be asked. Now let's understand what is expectation gap. So what happens basically, I'll tell you the story again. I'll recap the story again. Shareholders appoint an external body, a chartered accountant firm, basically, to come and audit a company in which they have invested money. Okay. So this is how the situation is. Now, expectation gap kahan shuru hoti hai? Where does the expectation gap start? What happens is, when the auditor is being hired by the shareholders to audit a company in which they have invested, the shareholders think that they have paid the auditor to assure that there is no error. The company is 100% error free. That is their assumption. That is their concept. What does the auditors do, or what can the auditors do? Now, auditors can't it's not possible for the auditors to be in the client's place, company's place for the whole 12 months. So they might go there for like 1 month or 2 months to do their audit and come back. In that time period, whatever documents they are asked for, they are given. Whatever information they can collect, they would collect, because they would need evidence. And then they make a report. Sometimes, if the business, the company in which they go to audit, if that company wants to hide something from them, or has made some fraud and wants to hide, and they completely make the books of accounts clean, jahan se you could not know what has happened, then it becomes impossible to to come to know about a fraud. I will give you a small example of what I just told you. For example, there is a company where I went for audit, okay? And this company is a company which is selling chemicals, okay? Now, when it is selling chemicals, what happens? There was a truck full of chemicals worth 20 lakh rupees. And that truck was going from Delhi to Bombay, for example. Now, what happened there was, under some circumstances, the truck met an accident and all the chemical worth 20 lakhs was spoiled. It was gone bad. Okay. Now, this is a very big amount. Okay. If company wants to hide this, they would take out all the trails of that information from their books of accounts, right? If that kind of thing happens, how you as an auditor are going to know about it? It becomes impossible, right? Because you would never know of a thing which has happened but does not have a trail on it, right? So when the auditor can only check and give a report on things that are visible or that can be assumed, but not on things which are not there or not assumed, right? Whereas on the other hand, the shareholders think that they should know everything and give you information. So the difference between what auditor does and what the shareholders expect is called the expectation gap. There are some examples of expectation gap here. Belief that the auditor tests all transactions and balances. Belief that the auditor will detect all frauds, which I said is possible. Nahi. A belief that the auditor is responsible for preparing the financial statements. This is the responsibility of the management, right? Limitations of an auditor. Financial statements include subjective estimates and other judgmental matters. Internal controls may be relied on, which they have their own interest in inherent limitation. Representation from management may have to be relied upon as the only source of evidence in some areas. Evidence is often persuasive, not conclusive, and do not test all transactions and balances. Only a sample are tested. So these are some limitations of an audit, right? Before I go to the next topic, just quickly take 2 minutes and just go through this once, okay? Right? Let's go to the next topic, which is review engagement. Review engagement is a different type of engagement, which is a part of the limited assurance engagement. And review engagement looks into something which is voluntary. Now, if a company wants to get a loan, okay, it's not compulsory by the government for them, or they don't have shareholders interference who will tell them, okay, get a review engagement or get a limited assurance and then only take a loan. Right? But sometimes itself only, the company itself only wants to improve its credibility. And that is why they do a review engagement. So review engagement is something which is voluntary. It uses analytical procedures. Analytical procedures means it compares the actual with the forecast or actual with the budgeted. Ratio calculation, trend analysis, etc. Making enquiries is a part of the limited assurance, and a negative assurance report, which we did on the, previously when we did, the negative assurance report is given. Purpose of review engagement, as I said, auditors, the company is not legally bound to do a limited assurance or a review engagement, but sometimes, when they want to improve their credibility, when they want to show the stakeholders that they are worthy enough for the money that is invested into them or the sources invested into them, a review engagement is taken care of, right? And a review engagement is a negatively worded engagement or a regularly worded report, right? There are certain terms here which are important, but you can read through it. I'll just quickly explain you what is agency, stewardship, and fiduciary relationship. Agency is basically where the principal means the shareholders, employ agent. Agent means the auditor to perform a task on their behalf, right? Steward is basically stewardship is where somebody, which is like the agent, has to, take the responsibility and do his work correctly, right? And fiduciary relationship is where something is done in good faith. I'll give you a little example of a fiduciary relationship. For example, you are made a monitor of the class. In school, we used to be monitors and prefects and all in the class. So, what did a monitor do in the class? He was said to do certain duties, but he would work in a good faith, right? He would assure that the tables are clean, the students are not disturbing the teacher's desk and table and everything is clean, right? That means that person used to do things in good faith. Why? Because he was given a certain duty, right? That is called a fiduciary relationship. Once the agent and the agency come together, okay, that means the shareholders and the auditors, they come together, right? It is important for the shareholders to work in a good faith with the uh, auditors and vice versa. Auditors also have to do it with the shareholders. Okay, so that is called a fiduciary relationship. There is a lot of reading, guys, over here. Just take 5 minutes and quickly read through it, because that's what the trend that we are carrying on with. So take 5 minutes and read through this. Okay. Uh, Right, folks? Let's go to the next line. So this brings us to the end of this lovely chapter. It's a little brief. It's just a start of how auditing will work, what kind of different assurances are there, limited assurance, reasonable assurance, features of reasonable assurance and limited assurance, the characteristics of an assurance engagement, which is like the 5 elements, benefits, limitations, expectation gaps, fiduciary relationship, stewardship, agency, etc. Right. So some small terms which can be asked in your section A as a 2-marker question, like, as an MCQ, that is something that you will be doing in this one, right? So I'll see you for the next class, and thank you so much for watching this one. Thank you.